AI, will it try to murder you in your sleep someday? Probably. But until then, there's a lot of money to be made in AI. And specifically, those of us in the crypto world know that some of these AI tokens could be some of the top movers in the bull market. However, here over the last day, we're seeing a lot of red. And in today's video, we're going to go through some of our favorite AI tokens, take a look at what is happening on those charts, and see potentially what are some levels below us that you could be scooping up some amazing buy levels for some of your favorite AI tokens. Now, you might be wondering, why are we talking about AI right now? Well, as we are speaking, the NVIDIA Conference is going on. This is a massive conference. It started yesterday. It will be going through, let's see, today's 19th. We're going to go through until Thursday will be the last day of the conference. And a lot of people believe that this would bring a spike in prices to a lot of your favorite AI coins. For example, I remember on the Saturday show we did this last week, I put in that I thought Render was a little overextended, and one of the arguments people made in chat was, Tim, there's an NVIDIA conference coming on. And while technically Render actually would go on that very day to have a nice little rally, the cool-off is happening once again. Why? Well, before we even go to the charts, let me explain something to you about conferences and about hype. Now, hype is a great thing for long-term, if there's a lot of excitement about a project, there's good chance a lot of money can flow in. However, a lot of times there's this thing in trading, if you've never heard of it, called buy the rumor, sell the news. What does this mean? Well, it's not like this conference snuck up on us. We knew this conference has existed for a long, long time now. And there's been all of this attention saying, oh, just wait for the NVIDIA conference. There's going to be so much cool stuff happening there, right? And the easiest thing to think about in this situation would be, all right, there's a massive AI conference. This should bring a lot of attention to the space. Bada boom, price go up, right? Well, that's not how buy the rumor, sell the news happens. Instead, the hype happens during the lead up to the big event. But as soon as that event happens and you have the dumber retail investors coming in, assuming that this has to be a win-win situation, there has to be price go up, they become the exit liquidity. And historically, these conferences like this end up being a great time to take profit and look for lower levels to buy. I'm not the one who makes the rules. I'm just the one who follows the charts and follows the logic. And that's just good reasoning for you to use with whatever projects you're investing in. Look for those situations where everyone says that something should be so bullish. And I'm not saying every single time it will be bearish, but more often than not, when everyone agrees on something, it's the contrarians that end up winning. It's the people that say, I'd call BS on this one. Those are the people that make money. Why? Because that's what the elites do. That's what the whales do. They suck in the poor retail investors. They convince them this is a must-buy situation only to dump their very, very large bags on those sucker retail investors. And then they wait for lower prices to discourage the retail investor to sell all that stock back over to the whales. It's just how the game works. Learn how to play it or cry about it. That's up to you. Let's take a look real quickly at NVIDIA. We are going to do some TA in this video, but I did feel like the beginning of it was a very important explanation you guys need to know. If you guys enjoyed that, smash the like button already, hit subscribe. But let's check out some charts here. NVIDIA continuing just to rocket to new all-time highs this last week. We just came up here and touched $975 for NVIDIA. That is just well and beyond the highest it has been, setting that new all-time high. However, you'll see here on Luxalgo, we did have the take profit signal hit. We've had some reversals come into play. We've been riding inside of this red wave of resistance. Look for a pullback here. As you can see, even back on February 21st, this smart shell concept, it came back down, touching the smart shell concept. That looks like what we're doing at the very least right now, but I will take a look at what happens, because when you have this big of a move, let's turn off Luxalgo for just a second. And when you have this big of a move without any type of really serious retracement, and what I'm talking about is from back here in early January, we really had a 2x on NVIDIA. And the biggest correction, which was not really that big at all, was this one right here, of course, but it was only 11%. A 2x with only 11% correction doesn't pass the sniff test. It's probably going to need something a little bit more significant when all is said and done. In fact, let's see some of the retracements Nvidia has had here during this run-up from this little bottom act back in October of 2022. Of course, we had this little pullback right here of about 26%. We then caught big rallies here. Our next pullback was going to come into this zone right here. I'm going to say this one, let's see, we're about 21%. So we're sitting in the 20 to 25% zone. But since this time, we are up on Nvidia price action, something along the lines of an 9x almost 800%, which would be a 9x. 20% pullbacks, only having 2 of them when you're up that big, doesn't necessarily pass the bill for me. This is one I am going to probably expect closer at some point, whether it happens right now or later. I think this is a market that's going to need some form of more of like a 30 to 40% pullback, but I'm going to say 30 to be conservative, in which case we're talking about Nvidia here. A 30% pullback would be a whopping 683. This would bring us back down actually very similar to those same levels we had when we pulled back later in February. Bring it back up, Lux, all go even. You're going to see that we have order blocks in the same area, right there on 674. So another reason to suspect potentially this could be in the cards. 40%, by the way, a little bit more severe. We're going to be coming down towards 584, although I don't see anything in that range that really should be a correction. Not disaster scenario, but big correction. Could we come back down to around 510, the resistance level that had plagued us between the months of August 23 all the way to January of 2024? We never came back to retap those resistance levels. So that would be a almost 50% pullback. Would that make sense? Kind of, when you talk about a 9x with no major correction. But I'm going to play it a little safer and say I believe 30% and pulling back maybe closer around 673 makes more sense. Let me know in the comments, though, what you guys think. Another reason to think that potentially we are going to be cooling off here is that even though we've had a lot of positivity over the last couple of months and the bulls have continued to defy all these bearish calls, we finally had some stick. We've had some bearish divergence here, red reversal with bearish momentum and the negative money flow kind of marking this top just perfectly. You're also seeing a bearish MACD cross. Now, we did have a small fake out back here in February that ended up not being very significant. That was that 20% pullback we had right here. But this one already looks like it's a more significant pullback. It looks like this one actually has some teeth to it. And if Nvidia is falling, I know we've covered, this isn't even getting into the crypto world, but the reason why this is important is because Nvidia is going to be one of the leading indicators for why we see things like Render start to move, or we see AGIX start to move, hit the wrong one, or NEAR, or even we're seeing a big fall today on one of the bigger movers, FET. FET is down 12% on the day alone from its all-time high. Make sure, no, it's not the all-time high, but from this more recent high that we had back here. We're already seeing FET down, let's see, right here, about 32%. Now, you're going to see on FET, we're already hitting the take profit here in Luxalgo. We're in the smart shell concept. Could this be the bottom? Let's do a little bit of investigation here. Let's turn these things off. You guys know, again, 30% corrections. I'm a big fan of them. This whole rally since the bottom of the bear market back in October of 2023, we are up right now in FET token. We're up, the high got us to about a 6, almost 7x, right? The only big correction we have had this entire time is right here. Let's see what this one was. This was about a 40% correction. 39, but we're going to round up to 40. This is one that, because of how explosive the price action has been, I could see FET easily doing a 40% pullback as well. I even, on this one, could see 50%. What that means, for example, 30% we've already hit, right? We're already sitting 31% down. If we're going to stay conservative here, maybe this is the bottom. But if everything else starts to fall, which I assume it will, I don't think we're going to stop right there. 40%, we're talking about coming back down, similar to the resistance levels we had back here in February, somewhere around, what is that, $2.24 makes, that would make a lot of sense. 50%, we're talking about coming back down closer to the support level of all of this hesitancy right in here, back down towards $1.81. I think this is realistic for FET. And if you're looking at that, that's an extremely bullish chart. Let's just pretend the price action did that and came down here and then bounced. If we're looking at this, let me redraw this real quick. If I'm looking at this, that is a very bullish looking chart when I'm zooming out. That does not look bearish whatsoever. That just looks like a normal little healthy pullback. But guess what? That's a 50% correction. Those things happen. The smaller the coin, the smaller the market cap, and the more explosive the rallies, the higher the likelihood you can get moves just like this to happen. So am I calling for a 50% pullback on FET? Probably, or sorry, I keep saying FET. This is THETA. I'm very sorry. I apologize for the last like 2 minutes, 3 minutes of the show. I have been saying FET this whole time, and I already know I'm gonna get some comments down below saying, Tim, you're not even looking at the right token. Stick with me here, guys. We're talking about THETA. We're talking about THETA. I said FET. That's my bad. It's my bad. That's FUD. And I don't mean to do that. But you guys get my point. We're looking at the chart. THETA already down a good amount. Could see it fall even more. I'm not going to go as in-depth on every single one of these coins, but speaking of Fetch is not necessarily far behind the same looking chart. I mean, it's different than THETA, but there's a lot of similarity you have going on when you come back to this October. The only difference is it had its bear market bottom way back in November, whereas THETA had its bear market bottom here in October. But same thing going on here, guys. When we look at FET, let's kind of start just even here. I'll go ahead and start with October, up. Oh my goodness, 1,400%. That's a lot of up. That's a lot of up right there, guys. Biggest pullback we've had in that time period, 36%. That's not going to foot the bill. Right now, in this current pullback, we have pulled back technically about 30%, but I'm going to call BS on that one. I'm going to say FET, and we're talking about the right coin this time. This is an easy 40% to 50% pullback. This one might even be closer to 60% pullback if we're being very real. Back down to this resistance level we have towards $1.17. But I'll stay conservative. Let's say a 45 to 50% pullback is the right way to think about it. We're talking about back to $1.77. This, of course, was a significant level right in here. We did have some hesitancy where we traded for a couple of days in that zone. Let's see what Lux is saying about it. Guess what? Our smart trail concept keeling over right around those levels. It's at about $2, but you can see it's keeling downwards. I think we're seeing some negative momentum come in here on FET for sure. Same thing we're looking at here, guys. Massive buyers gone. Bearish signals very much in play on our oscillators. This is the perfect sell signal to be entering a short. I wish I could have gotten into it days ago, but honestly, on the daily chart, I think we're going to see this continue for a little while longer. Same thing we have going on with Render. You guys know, again, I made a week-long short on it in a competition with T-Shroom, and even though it had a positive day leading into the conference, we're back down creating blue candles right here. Look at that smart trail concept coming in down here towards almost, a little bit below $9, but this is another one. Let me clear some chaos on the chart. And we'll take a look here without our oscillators. Let's turn off Lux here as well. Clearly, I'm just going to go ahead and say look for levels right here between 836 down here to about 686. A lot of trading volume happening in that area. This bullish momentum, same as the others. Let's see here. Oh, it kind of started early. It didn't have to wait for October to get going. We kind of got Render Ball going later on in August. Bear market bottom coming all the way back here in June, but the real bullish momentum started here in January. Look at some of these pullbacks that we have had on Render. We had a nice 60% right there, even though that's a massive higher low. We had, on this one, we had a nice little 56% correction, a very mild correction right here for Render, only coming down 34%. So this right here shows you how easy it is for these smaller tokens to get a little, 50, 60, 70% pullback and still be in a strong bull market. Right now on Render, again, seeing those same negative signs as on Nvidia and the other tokens. Let's see what we got going on here. We've only been down 27%. 40% would be that top level 811. Closer to 50% would bring us down to that bottom level towards 698. Let's go ahead and just say that. I like that one. I like just below $7, 691 area, 50% pullback. 60%, which again historically has happened, 62. Let's go back to that high we had in December, down towards $5.23. That very well might happen. Again, we've seen 60% corrections in Render here during this bull market. Not going to be abnormal to see it again. I, of course, though, don't love to try to catch falling knives and buy the perfect bottoms. I like this product long term, so I'm going to be more conservative and say I like just under $7, 50% correction on Render. There's so many more AI tokens out there, but we can only cover so many. Ultimately, take what you saw in this video, copy and paste, go look at them on the other coins, the other charts that you want to trade. Let me know what you think down below. Am I cuckoo? Are we about to continue to tear up and away? Or do you agree that it's time for a little bit of a cool off, even in the AI world? I'll leave with this. Make sure you smash the like button. Make sure you subscribe. But also, AI has been really, really, really overhyped this year. We had a close source of ours, kind of even tell us there's a lot of coins that are more on a bubble. They haven't even started building their project yet. They've done a lot of fundraising and they've launched tokens to support what they want to build. But the truth is, while several AI tokens are going to make it, there are going to be a lot that don't. And you want to make sure you're hedging yourself correctly. Choose the projects you can trust. Invest wisely. Take profits and buy lower levels, but also don't try to overexpose yourself to too much because the promise has not yet been made. We are just seeing a lot of hype in the AI world. With that said, though, that's all I have for you guys in this video. Smash a like, hit subscribe. I'll see you guys later today. Adios.